What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fleaflicker NFL show, episode 31. I'm your host, Aribu Umar, and I'm joined by Amal Ronak. What's up, Amal?
What's up, Arib? A lot of big news today, as today was the cut day for a lot of teams in the league, and we're going to get into some of the major news that has happened. And then I guess we're also going to talk about a lot of the big contract extensions that happened also in the major news. And then we're going to look into the outlook of the NFL season, our predictions such as who's going to win the divisions for each of the divisions. We talked a lot about over-unders. We'll give our final rankings for the divisions, our 7 teams that we have for making the playoffs in each conference, and ultimately who we have being our Super Bowl winners for this 2020-2021 NFL season.
Yeah, that you summed it up pretty much. That's our show sheet for the day, and we're gonna give our week 1 game picks as well in a future episode. So keep on the lookout for that. Let's just jump into it, Amal. You want to start off with the news?
Yeah, I'll hop into it. So the first news that I want to talk about is probably the biggest news of the day. Deshaun Watson has agreed to sign a 4-year extension worth $160 million with the Houston Texans, now making him the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, right behind, of course, Patrick Mahomes, who's getting paid $45 million a year, and he's getting paid 40. So I think with this type of deal, I think I'm okay with the money wise. I'm not okay with the guaranteed money. I think he should have been guaranteed more money because I think Watson, as a third year player, as a fourth year player now, he's gonna be, yeah, fourth year player, but he barely played his rookie year. He's been outstanding. So I really like the way he plays. Um, yeah, I think the guaranteed money is a bit low, but overall, I think this is still a good extension for him. Obviously, he couldn't be expecting Mahomes money, but that's mainly because the Texans don't want to take such a big risk. He's already gotten injured. He already tore his ACL in his rookie year. You don't want to take that burden of putting that same type of contract that Mahomes had for that $500 million for 10 years. You can't do that. That takes too much of a burden for the team. So, yeah, with this 4-year extension, I'd expect to look out for some great stuff from Deshaun Watson with whatever receivers he has for the next 4 years.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the guaranteed money. I agree with you. If you look at a player like Kirk Cousins, who not his latest deal with or extension with the Vikings, but his original deal with them back in 2017, I believe it was, and or 2018 rather, he had a fully guaranteed contract. And obviously, you're not going to gab a fully guaranteed contract when you're making almost $160 million over the length of your deal. But I feel like 110 million guaranteed is kind of low, like you were saying. But the money itself, $40 million a year or 39. I've heard multiple different sources. According to Spottrack.com, it says $39 million per year, but according to other NFL sources, it's 40. Really, it isn't that much of a difference. He's the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Like you said, right behind Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, a player like Deshaun Watson, he's about to be like a top 5 quarterback. Drew Brees is probably still in there right now, but he's going to drop off soon. He's going to retire most likely. And Deshaun Watson is just a really phenomenal player. Like, you can make an argument he's a top 5 quarterback right now. I think he's still growing into his like playing style as well. Like, if I flash back to the playoff game against the Bills, like, he was just bad for like the first 3.5 quarters. And if he can fix stuff like that up and he can be more consistent, like, you see him put up these like huge dud games every so often, like every month he'll put up like a really bad game. But for the most part, he's like a baller of a football player. And if I'm the Texans, I want to lock him up long term. And some people might try to transition this to like a Dak Prescott situation as well, because, Dak Prescott also needs a deal soon. And the thing is, Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, aren't even in the same ballpark of quarterback. Or you can make an argument they're similar, but Deshaun Watson, I think, can carry a team, and we haven't seen Dak Prescott do that yet in his career. So just overall, I think the money is probably worth it, at least long term. But really, what I want to talk about is if you look at a player like Russell Wilson, he recently got a deal within the last year and a half, 2 years, $35 million per year. That's looking like a bargain right now. What are your thoughts on contracts like that, like the Carson Wentz contract where he's making, I believe, $32 million a year? Like lots of pretty good quarterbacks making change compared to the newer generation coming up.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think I actually genuinely feel bad for like these type of players that signed a bit earlier. Like once he's signing before Dak, and I mean that's good for him. Obviously, he's getting to stay with the Eagles longer. So as an Eagles fan, you're obviously going to be like, "Oh, great, we have our QB set for the long term, right?" But in his aspect, he didn't. He could have waited a bit longer, like Dak is. Maybe even take the franchise tag or 2, and then, like, he can be getting paid more than Deshaun Watson. He can be getting, like, 42 million, $43 million a year. But, I mean, I think, regardless, I think this is, still, I think it's still a great contract. Russell Wilson one was really interesting. That entire contract situation uh, was quite fascinating. He was almost like I think the Giants were like super interested in getting Russell Wilson at a time. Like they were were willing to trade whatever it was to get him. And like I remember like the Seahawks like made the deal like the very last second for him. And honestly, if he didn't make that deal, apparently he was going to walk out. And now looking at it, that deal was completely underpaid. The Seahawks got him for a steal, and that deal because that deal only happened like last year. That's what I'm saying. If the value of the quarterback has really gone, and he was the best QB I think last year. I mean Mahomes is there obviously, but like he was still on the rookie deal. But I'm saying as like a veteran QB, you could easily say he was the best QB, right? Him and Rodgers are like 1 and 2, and Rodgers has already got paid and he's way older than Wilson too. And Wilson is still, I think he's still in his prime. I mean, you're a big Russell Wilson fan. You obviously know that.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, I think he got heavily underpaid. And no disrespect to Deshaun Watson. I think some people do view him as top 5. I personally don't. But I mean, it's the same with Wentz too. But I think this is a good value for him. But yeah, I think if players just waited, like once just waited a bit longer, they could have had that type of money too. But overall, yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
An interesting thought is that at least for this, like the quarterbacks behind him, and it's kind of crazy to talk about that because it feels like Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, Trubisky were drafted like literally like a couple of days ago, but they've been in the league for 3 years now. They're entering their 4th season. But if I look at like a quarterback class like the 2019 quarterback class or even the 2020 quarterback class, like obviously it's early. We don't know how good Joe Burrow and stuff is going to be. But looking just at 2018, I don't see any of these guys making record deals, like except Lamar Jackson, of course. But I'm not seeing, anyone behind that as of now making big money. And I'm interested to see like, are we going to see the same big contracts for the next year or so other than Lamar? Obviously, he's probably going to sign pretty soon, or at least after this season. I just want to see, like, will other guys jump into that echelon of, yeah, you can pay us like the highest paid quarterback and we're worth it because we're that damn good. I want to see if that happens. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, definitely worth it. I think he's the type of player who can carry your team, and the most important position on the field is quarterback in the NFL. So locking that in I think he's locked in for 6 more years, I want to believe.
Yeah, 6 years total. Yeah, 4 years extension, and he has 2 more years on his rookie deal. Like
Yeah, so
Mahomes.
he's going to be an undrafted free agent in 2026. So, yeah.
Correct.
Any other news that's notable?
I just want to say this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Keenan Allen agreed to a 4-year, $80 million extension. I think that's just bonkers. I don't know. Is the wide receiver position, especially for an injury-prone player like Keenan Allen, with not really a stable QB situation yet, getting $20 million a year is a bit hefty ask if you ask me. And I don't know why the Chargers actually went on and gave him that money. He's a great receiver, but I don't know. He's not even in like the same league as guys like Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams. I mean, he's not, and he's getting paid as if he was. This is the same problem I had with a guy like Brandon Cooks' contract or Sammy Watkins' contract. They're getting heavily overpaid, and this is a perfect example of that. So yeah, I don't. I'm not a big fan of this extension, and this is a bad move from the Chargers, especially when they drafted Mike Williams recently too. Yeah, bad move if you ask me.
So I don't have a problem with this deal, actually. I think you could make an argument that Keenan Allen is a more reliable wide receiver than Tyreek Hill, and I would be perfectly fine with that. Like, he's one of the best route runners in the league, short hands, makes some pretty good catches. Like, he's good across the middle, good at getting those first downs. I guess it just sort of depends. Like, do you want the flashy guy who might not catch a ton of balls, but he's probably going to catch a touchdown like every other week and probably have a deep ball like every game? Or do you want the guy who's going to continuously grind out first downs? That's pretty much the big difference for me. And I personally have them tied. I think Cortland Sutton, personally, is probably the best wide receiver in that division, period. I just think I'm really high on Cortland Sutton. But I have a problem here with a wide receiver being paid $20 million per year. And you brought up the point that he's injury prone. I think he's sort of shed that label over the last couple of years. Like, he's played 15, 14, and 16 games since 2017 in that order. He did miss one. He only played one game back in 2016 and 8 games back in 2015. But for the majority of his career, he's averaged around 15, 16 games. So I don't think he's injury prone whatsoever, at least recently. But I just have a problem with a wide receiver getting paid $20 million per year. Like, to me, that's a substantial amount of money. And I just don't know how you can, you know, like, it's not like a running back. Like, sure, it's not a running back and all that. But I'm just not really sure why you'd pay a guy. Like, yeah, he's catching the ball and all that. But I don't know. To me, it's just a bit odd. Yeah, he's a great player, but I don't know when his extension kicks in. I believe it kicks in soon, but whatever it does, like, he's, according to SpotTrack.com, he's making up a good 7% of the cap space apparently. And if that happens next year, where there could potentially be a cap, the cap completely plummets because of COVID, then you could be in problems. Like, yeah, Keenan Allen's a great wide receiver. You can make an argument he's a top 10 wide receiver, but just in general, like, I don't think you should be paying wide receivers like a boatload of money. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Amal?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm actually not even like super high on Keenan Allen. Uh it's nothing like it's not that I don't like him. It's just I don't know. It's just it's the maybe it's the fact that the Chargers haven't been good. And the Chargers were good 2 years ago. But I mean, his last stats, he had 1,200 yards. And 6 touchdowns. That's not even a problem. I didn't have a problem with that either. It's just he he is consistent as well. I just think there's a lot of good receivers in this league that if he's making 20 million, what are these other receivers going to be making? Like I think Galladay is better than him for sure. I think like Hopkins is better than him. Obviously, I think
Mhm.
Julio Jones is better. Tyreek Hill, that's fair. I think Tyreek Hill is inconsistent, but yeah, I think you brought up a fair point there. Michael Thomas, I think, is definitely there. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, one of the two, if not both. Um, Allen Robinson is there. Amari Cooper is there. OBJ and him, I think, are probably around the same field. And it's Juju Smith-Schuster is there. DJ Moore is there. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even that Keenan Allen's a bad receiver, but there's just so many good receivers, bro. And he's not tier 1 talent either. He's probably in the mix of tier 3, tier 2, maybe on the high end of tier 2. But like, he's getting paid as if he was like a top 3 receiver right now with this
Mhm.
$20 million a year extension. That's the main problem I had. And I like the point you brought up that it's taking up a big chunk in the cap space. and I would not be surprised if like later down the line his contract gets restructured because they can't afford to pay everyone else with that hefty contract that he has. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Um,
Just to fact
other
check myself, Spotrac hasn't updated yet for like the percentage of the cap going into like 2021, 2022 with Keenan's contract, but I think he's going to average around 10% of the cap for a wide receiver, and to me that's just crazy. I don't think any wide receiver is really worth that much percent of the cap.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, and I mean, and if you are, you got to be a damn good receiver, like a damn
Like a
damn
Julio
good.
Jones. Like I'd be fine paying Julio that much, or like
Yeah, I
DeAndre
would be fine
Hopkins.
with.
But I
Yeah,
don't think Keenan Allen's there. Like he's probably a top 10 receiver, but he's not Julio Jones type of level, at least in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. Even Kittle, bro. Kittle's a tight end, and even
Yeah,
Kittle
I'd
as
pay
like
Kittle
a receiver,
more.
I'd pay Kittle more than I'd pay Keenan Allen. Like that's point blank. Yeah, I would
Mhm.
just do that, and that's all I'm trying to say. It didn't make sense to me. Um, and then another extension that happened was Bills All Pro corner Tre'Davious White signing a 4-year extension, 4 years, $70 million. He's a player I'd also pay more than Keenan Allen, but it's cornerback. But that guy's the MVP, I think, of that defense. He's a lockdown corner. Um, and I'm high on the Bills this year. I know you are high on the Bills this year as well. Um, yeah, I like the signing here. 4 year, $70 million extension. I think this is also a good value for him for the Bills as well. Could have easily gone for more. I like this move.
You're telling me that Josh Norman isn't the heart and soul of the Bills defense somehow?
I think he's maybe the heart.
I could argue, I could make a decent argument that Micah Hyde might actually be the most valuable player because he plays. I think safety might be a more impactful position, but Tre'Davious White is for sure like the best player on that defense. And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I'm trying. Yeah,
yeah, I don't see a problem like paying him that much money. He deserves it. And corner is a premium position, way more premium than wide receiver. Like you're not getting a lockdown corner like in every draft versus like every draft you're probably getting a wide receiver who can maybe be like a top 12 wide receiver, top 15. So just our thoughts. Pretty good signing. He got a boatload of money as well, but worth it in my opinion.
yeah, I agree with that. And then the last thing I just want to touch on really quickly. This will probably be the last one. Jags are bringing in Devontae Freeman for a workout. And this is because Armstead, you said yesterday, was on the coronavirus reserve list, and Leonard Fournette got released and now is on the Buccaneers. And their running backs are very, very very small, very thin. I guess that's the word that's used. And they're they need help. Chris Thompson's their running back one, and Chris Thompson has never been a running back one for any franchise. Even with the
Mm-hmm.
Redskins, he was a receiving back. He was never. He had the Duke Johnson role. He didn't have the. He's never been like a run. He could never
He's a
be the
great
bell.
back if you want him to play 10 games, but after that he's like gone. Like he's gonna get injured, and it's sad to say, but it's true.
Yeah, and I think Devontae Freeman would be a great pickup. I think at the right price. Actually, the price I don't even think matters now too much. But I think considering they're tanking, but Devontae Freeman's a great player, man. He's had a bunch of great seasons with the Falcons. I can understand kind of why they cut him. I mean, obviously they replaced him with Gurley, and that's another player that's injury prone. But yeah, I think he did not have the best year last year, and that's probably because of his 2018 injury where he only played 2 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Devontae Freeman though. I think he could help that Jags offense somewhat. At least make them like at least float, like tread underwater, tread with the water within the waters.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll survive from that. I think they're still going to be, like we said, like the worst team, but I mean, you need some offense with Gardner Minshew, man. That guy's basically living in hell. So, yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
it
Um,
sucks.
my quick take on this is, I believe the Jaguars saved like $4 million of cap space when they let Leonard Fournette go. You better be paying Devontae Freeman less than $4 million, like because Leonard Fournette right now is more healthy. He's just a better player overall than Devontae Freeman, and either like you really hated Leonard Fournette and he was just like a cancer to your locker room, like you just wanted him gone, and you're fine paying $4 million or more to get in Devontae Freeman because he's not Leonard Fournette, or you did it for money reasons, and it'll just be interesting. Like, I think you definitely need weapons on the offensive side of the ball if you're the Jaguars, and Freeman. That while he hasn't seen like, I think his heyday is long gone, but he's definitely going to be a solid contributor, at least running the football. And like you said, Chris Thompson, he's not a bell cow.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the main point. He can't carry the team. And Raquel Armstead also, I haven't seen a lot from him either. Just saying, I would not trust him either. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. And yeah, Reed, you can take it away going into the main segment.
Yeah, so let's just jump into it. We're gonna talk on our we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about our final division predictions. We're gonna give our game by well not game by game. We're gonna give our final record position predictions for every single team, our playoff teams. We're gonna give dark horse MVP candidates, normal MVP candidates, all the awards, all that fun stuff, coach of the year. And yeah, that's what we're gonna finish off the show with. Should be a fun segment because I'm interested in what you think, Amal. And let's just jump right into it. I think let's finish the predictions first, like our record position, record predictions, and we can do our playoff teams. And you can take it away, Amal. What division do you want to start with, or conference too?
Uh, we will start with the NFC because I think that we did that first. So we'll do that, and we'll go from the river. We'll start with the NFC East altogether. We'll just start from there. Um, I will start with I think the worst team will be. I have actually I'll go from best to worst. It's fine. I have Dallas as 1 at 10-6. I have the Eagles at 2 at 10-6 as well. I have the Giants at 3 at 6-10, and then I have the Redskins. Oh God, why do I call them the Redskins? The
Canceled,
Washington
Amal.
football. The
You
Washington
just got
football.
canceled.
Washington football team at 5 wins. So I think that's going to happen. 5-11 for the Redskins, 6-10 for the Giants, 6-10 Eagles, but they finished second, and I have Cowboys at 1 at 10-6.
Okay, so do you have the Eagles making the playoffs? Because
We'll get into that
okay,
once we
fair
do
enough.
the play.
So I have the Cowboys first 10-6 as well. I have the Eagles going 9-7. I have the Giants going 5-11 and the Redskins going 4-12. So pretty much identical. Like we really see only two front runners here. No surprises here. Um yeah, I just think the NFC curse is a real thing, the NFC East curse, and I just believe that the Cowboys are going to alternate, and it just happens every year. Nothing much. Like there isn't much, science, facts, football knowledge behind it. It's just like looking at rosters. I think the Cowboys are slightly more talented, and just the curse, bro. It's a real thing. Like I can't talk about anything else. It's the curse.
Yeah, I simply agree with that. I think it's the curse. Yeah. Um, Next, we'll go with the NFC North. Uh, we'll go from best to worst there. I think the Packers have the best team in the division, but it's very close. I think you could either it'll be a toss up. I think the Packers still manage to do pretty well. I think they'll go for 11-5. That's my prediction here. I think they go 11-5. I think the Vikings go 10-6. I think the Lions they go 5-11, and then I think the Bears they go 8-8.
Okay, interesting. So I had the Packers going 11-5 as well. I had the Vikings going 9-7. 7-9. Actually, no. So yeah, 7-9 for the Bears, and then I have the Lions going 7-9 as well. So I'm higher on the Lions than you are. We've talked about this multiple times. We actually have a bet going, I think. Do we? Do we still have the bet going? I don't know. But
Yes, we do,
I think
sir. Yes, sir. Come on.
I said that I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions finished 8-8. Um, Matt Patricia's bad though, so I'm just gonna dip them to 7-9, even though I think the roster is extremely talented. The Bears, Mitch Trubisky won the QB job, and until I see him do it on the field, I'm not betting on him at all to go positive. That's just my take on it. Vikings 9-7. I think the Vikings lost more than they gained. So they gained Yannick, I believe, from a trade, and that's a great gain. But they lost Linval Joseph. They lost Everson Griffin. They essentially lost their entire cornerback room too. And I just don't trust rookie cornerbacks going out there and trying to bail you out. Like they could be good. I believe they signed an undrafted free agent whose name escapes me at the moment, but I've heard great things out of Vikings camp from him. And that being said, rookie cornerbacks adjusting the NFL wide receivers, like true NFL wide receivers, I I can't bet on that at all. And I think they're going to be a good team, but I just think they're going to fall slightly short.
Yeah, I think they'll still fall short, but I think the division will definitely still be close. Even 2 games gap, I'd still consider that relatively close.
Yeah.
So we both still have the same top 4. I think, yeah, you have the Lions a bit higher, but overall 1 and 2 is all that basically matters. NFC South, this is gonna be a very competitive division. Um, I think first is gonna be the Saints, and I think it will be tough because I think the Bucks just keep adding more and more firepower now, with the Leonard Fournette acquisition. So I think the Saints will go 12-4. I think that's very doable as well. Um, I can even see them going better than that, but I'll put them at 12-4. I think the Bucks finish second. They go 11-5. I think that's realistic. Uh, and then I'll go the Falcons third at 9-7 because I've always been high on the Falcons, to be fair. And then fourth I have Carolina. And Carolina I'm kind of high on, but I'm also like it's not as they like their team's not amazing, but it's just CMC. But DJ Moore is really nice. They got Robbie Anderson and them boys. Uh, I have them at 6-10.
Okay, so I think we have pretty much the exact same order. I have the Saints going 12-4. Like they've gone, I think they've won more than 11 games every single year since 2017. Second, I have the Buccaneers at 10-6. I think they're going to be a great team, just flat out. Bringing in Tom Brady and bringing in Leonard Fournette. Like you have a pretty solid offensive line there. You already had a pretty solid defense, and with less turnovers from the offense, like it's only going to benefit the defense. I'm high on this team, and I think I've slowly flipped you over and converted you to maybe hopping onto the Bucks bandwagon or the TB12 method, whatever you want to call it.
No,
Falcons
not
9-7 as well. Not yet. 9-7 Falcons. Again, I'm extremely high on them as well. I think though, I think that even though they finished 9-7, I think they're going to fall just short of the playoffs, and you're probably going to see Dan Quinn get fired, in my bold opinion. And finally, 4-12 for the Panthers. Like they have a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, essentially an entire new starting defense. I can't bet on that yet. And Teddy Bridgewater, I think the offense will be good for fantasy. I will say that, but winning games, I just don't trust them as a team yet. And Matt Rule, usually his first year as a head coach isn't the best year, to say the least, at least with Temple and Baylor in college.
yeah, I think. What did you have for the Panthers again? I
Four
forgot.
and 12.
4-12. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with what you have here. Um, Now we'll go next to the West, NFC West. Um, this is the most competitive division, arguably, in football. Um, I think the winner of the divisions, the race is going to be very close. I have the Niners still winning it. Uh, I think the Niners will still manage to get 12 wins. Uh, so I think they'll go 12-4 and they'll secure the 1 seed. I think the Seahawks fall right behind that at 11 wins. And they'll go 11-5. I think the Cardinals go. I mean, I already made my over under for like betting, but now this is like what I actually like would think. For all these teams, I'm just changing the record on just what I think. So for the Cardinals, I think they go 8-8. I think the Rams go 8-8. I think that's how it goes. Yeah, I don't think there will be a clear third place between those two.
Okay, so NFC West, I have the Seahawks winning the division. I think they're going to go 11-5 and win the division. And I think they're probably going to win both Niners games. So they're going to have the head-to-head tiebreaker on them. I have the Niners having a slight Super Bowl hangover, falling to 11-5. It's a real thing. The NFC losing a Super Bowl team, like it happens multiple times where they just end up collapsing. I think this team is too good to collapse, though. Like unlike the Cam Newton 2015 Super Bowl teams, like 2016 Falcons, like I don't think they're going to collapse. I think they're going to be a good team, 11-5. But I just think like there's going to be a slight fall there, and I think Seattle's going to win both their head-to-head games, and they're probably going to win the division. I have the Cardinals going 8-8 as well, and for me, I'm high on their defense. I think their defense the second half of the year played way better than it did like the first half of the year. And that happened after they released Terrell Suggs. Oddly enough, I guess he just didn't fit the system, but once he was gone, like the defense, I think they jumped up to, they were like really bad, like in every measurable stat, but I think they jumped up to at least league average, like around 16 to 18 ish. And I think that the Cardinals offense is going to be high flying. So if you even have that average of a defense with a pretty good offense, I just think that you're bound to win at least 8 games. And they're going to be in a ton of tight games, and they'll probably end up losing or winning some. But like it'll be a coin flip. But I think 8-8 is fair for the Cardinals. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender yet. Their offensive line, even though they did draft some good players in the draft, is still worrisome for me. And just overall, I want to see another pass rusher outside of Chandler Jones, because they had Chandler Jones playing a 3-4 outside linebacker role last year, and you don't want him dropping into coverage. Like he's a pass rusher, he's a great pass rusher, but they don't really have anyone else outside of him to generate a ton of pressure. And I hope Isaiah Simmons can help fill a void. And you're not going to see Chandler Jones dropping into coverage as much, and you're going to see him rushing the passer because that's what he's good at. And finally, the Rams 7-9. I just think the Rams talent is depleted. Like they lost a ton of guys in free agency. And Jared Goff, I need to see him do it again. Once I see him do it again, like I'll be high on them. I don't think by any means this is going to be like a bad thing on Sean McVay. I just think they spent too much money on like the upper echelon talent and too much draft capital on that, and their depth is just worrisome to me. And I think it's like the fault of like what happens when you spend that much money. Like you're gonna have a great elite talent, like probably like your top 5 guys are gonna be really good, but after that, it's just gonna be a ton of meh players, and I think that's gonna come back and bite them this year.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think it's still going to be hard for San Francisco for sure, because I think the Super Bowl hangover could get to them. It's hard for teams to make it to back-to-back, man. And it's hard for teams to play at that same level
In
of
the
excellence.
NFC as
Back.
well.
Yeah, that too in the harder conference. Yeah, even in the AFC, it's very rare for teams to go back-to-back Super Bowls. It doesn't happen, man. And yes, you could be excellent for back-to-back years, but it's hard to match that same type of standard, you know. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
Niners set the bar really, really high last year, and yeah, I think they'll take a slight fall, but yeah, I think I personally would take them. You have the Seahawks winning both games, so that obviously that will make you take them. So yeah, but I think overall 1 and 2, we both obviously have them. I think the loser of those two will probably be the 5 seed in that NFC, because that's how it's been like the past like 2 years. So
Yeah, probably.
yeah. Yeah, I would assume that's probably what it'll be like. Um, but yeah, we both have them as playoff teams. We'll get more into that later. Now we'll move on to the AFC. We'll go to the AFC East. Not a competitive division, I think, but we talked about that the last podcast. I have the Bills. I have them going 11-5. Um, I think that's it could be quite high, and I think they can even contend for the first round bye with these other two teams, mainly because their schedule seems pretty easy. They do have a couple hard matchups, such as the Niners and the Steelers and the Chiefs, but
And I believe they
outside,
play Baltimore as well.
yeah. So that's four. With I think that they can win one, maybe one of those four. But the rest of their games, bro, they can definitely have a good chance in winning. Um, they beat the Pats even last year, even with Brady. So, um, yeah, I expect high things out of Buffalo, and I know you do too. I have them at 11-5, and they will win the division. My next team I have is the New England Patriots. I think they go. I think they go 8-8. Actually, yeah, I think I have them as no, I actually don't. I have them at 9-7. I have them at 9-7 because I of Cam Newton. That's the main reason I have them at 9-7. Uh, and yeah, like you brought up in the last podcast, Bill Belichick, you have to wait and you can't not trust him yet. Uh, and yeah, I want to see how Cam Newton does in that new environment with Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator and that offense. Then the next I have a tie between third. I think I told you this yesterday. Uh, between the Dolphins and the Jets. I have them both going 7-9. Uh, and yes, I am having a bold prediction with the Miami Dolphins getting 7 wins. It's a bit of a stretch, but they're four of their 6 games are on the road. It's quite rough there, but I think overall, I think they can still get that 7 wins prediction. And then the Jets, they had 7 wins last year. I think they can stay the same. I think even though they got better, the rest of the conference got better. So I think they'll go 7-9, and that's my prediction for the AFC East.
Okay, so my prediction for the AFC East, I had the Bills going 10-6. I think I said yesterday I had them going 11-5, but I've just similar to Jared Goff, like Josh Allen, he showed things to me in the playoff game, but I just need to see him actually do it. So I'm going to dip them down to 10-6. I still have them winning the division though. Patriots 9-7, and you said Cam Newton. I say it's because of Bill Belichick. Like I can't bet against him having a winning record until he actually loses. Like he actually has a losing record, and until he does, like until every single player and every single essence of that Patriots dynasty is gone, I'm not believing it because the Patriots could somehow make the first seed because Bill Belichick did some weird voodoo magic. Who knows? Third, I have the Dolphins, and I have them winning seven games, and I have the Jets winning 6 games. And
You
really, when it
joined
comes
in.
down,
You joined in on my prediction. Yeah, you got 7 wins
so
for the
I
Dolphins
had them
too.
both. Yeah, I had them winning 7 games, and really, it's because I think they have a ton of players that I like now. Like they went out in free agency, got some some ballers, Kyle Van Noy, a, a former Patriot. They also drafted some nice players as well. Like just overall, I like this team. And if I have to vote against Adam Gase or Brian Flores, like I'm choosing Brian Flores all day. And I think this is a blessing in disguise for the Jets. I think Sam Darnold's going to ball out, but I just think he's going to be, at the end of the day, he's going to be handicapped by poor coaching. Similar to like maybe you could make the argument like the Cowboys this year or last year with Jason Garrett. And I
Yeah.
think I think he's gonna get fired, like lickety split. Like he's gonna get fired, and that's what you need. You need a new coach to come in and establish a good culture. And I don't think Adam Gase is gonna do that. And for the Dolphins, like I don't even care if they don't play Tua this year. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's the leader of that team currently. And honestly, they have tons of talent. They have good coaching. Not as much talent as I'd say the Jets are probably more talented overall. But I like what they did in free agency. Byron Jones, like they went out there and they invested in players, and I'm happy they did that. They already have a good coach, 7-9, and I think the Dolphins could maybe be a playoff team next season, 2021, 2022. Like watch out for them. They could end up succeeding in the rebuild and being a great team.
Yeah, well said. Um, yeah, I think the Dolphins can definitely succeed in the rebuilding phase, and I think yeah, I think like you brought up yesterday, I think a lot of the games will definitely be closer with these bottom two teams in the AFC East. So yeah, second to last division I'm going to talk about is the AFC North. AFC North is also somewhat competitive because yeah, the Steelers are there, the Browns, and the Ravens. Um, I have the Ravens going 11-5. Uh, and it's because I don't expect them to obviously play as well as they did last year. They had 14 wins last year. I think it's they'll definitely take a step back on that, and that's mainly the reason. And they have a quite difficult schedule too, especially with the teams they're playing in this division twice a year. Yeah, I think they'll still have some trouble. Second, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them going 10-6, and that's because Big Ben. I think Big Ben and Mike Tomlin will lead their team to the promised land, and I'm very high on the Steelers. I'm very very high on them. They initially, when we did a podcast about like a couple months back, I did not have them anywhere near my top 10. But now looking into it, like I didn't even consider it because they were just not like really in like the serious playoff contention, and I never took them seriously because they didn't have a quarterback, which I find it now quite foolish of me to think that. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to a bounce back season from Juju. I'm looking at bounce back season from James Conner, Ben Roethlisberger. I expect him to play very well as well. But I mean, this season on the offensive side, he needs to really show that he's the talent that he once was. And if he's some of that, they'll easily get this 10 wins because their defense is unstoppable. Their defense is arguably the best defense in the AFC. Yeah, great defense, and that's why I have them second at 10-6. Third, I have the Browns. I think I was very high on them last year, and I'm still going to be high on them this year because I expect them to still get better. So I think they'll go 9-7 because I expect Baker Mayfield to improve. And I think you brought up a very valid point yesterday. The main problem last year you're saying wasn't Baker Mayfield and it was the coaching. And I think the coaching definitely had a major impact on the season last year. Freddie Kitchens was not the man for the job, and yeah, that clearly showed in that performance that they had last year. And I'm looking forward to what they have to offer this year, and I think they will go 9-7 and have their winning record for the first time in forever almost. And the last team I have is the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think they're going to play much better than they did last year. A lot of the games that the Bengals had last year were relatively close. They could have gone both. I could have gone either way. But I think Joe Burrow. I think he's good. He's the real deal. Unfortunately, his defense is not like amazing whatsoever, or his weapons are great, but his O line needs a little bit of help. But I think overall their team is okay. It's just that the division is just so difficult, and the teams that they have to face are also quite difficult. I have them at, I believe that I have them at 6 wins. Actually, no, I have them at 5 wins. I have them at 5-11. Uh, but I think Joe Burrow is a very heavy candidate, and we'll go into this in our awards segment uh, to win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, I should say. And yeah, I'll recap it again. Baltimore Ravens, I have them at 11-5. Steelers 10-6. Browns 9-7. Bengals 5-11.
Okay, so I have the Ravens also 12-4. You had them 11-5. I think they're gonna win 12 games. They're gonna dip down from the 14 wins they had last season. Like that's just gonna happen because you're gonna sort of default to that mean. But I don't see why they can't repeat. They have a ton of talent, and I don't see a reason how, like, minus injury, Lamar Jackson is going to substantially drop off. Like, he's still going to be great at running the football, and I think you can only really improve as a passer. So overall, arguably, not even arguably, I think they have the best roster in the AFC North. So second, I have the Steelers. I have them winning 11-5, winning 11 games. And I think really I think I talked about it yesterday. Their offense is like the 27th offense, or maybe it might have been the last offense. It was somewhere in there, like a bottom 5 offense with Duck Hodges and the GOAT Mason Rudolph. Now, put in Ben Roethlisberger, and even if he's like average, even if that offense could be like a top 20 offense, maybe top 18, 17, like even if it's average, I don't see how you can go from 8-8 and how you don't go from 8-8 to at least winning 10 games. And I think their offense is going to be better than average. And because of that, I'm going to go 11-5. I think they're going to beat the Ravens at least once this year. And they're going to easily lock up the 5th seed. Spoilers for my playoff prediction. But they're just going to be a really great team this year. And like you said, they have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. So I have Cleveland winning 9 games this year, going 9-7. And I'm high on Baker Mayfield. And I just think that first year with Kevin Stefanski, I just don't see how such a talented team with who I believe is their future quarterback, and he's a star in the making in Baker Mayfield. I think this is the year that people realize that last year was a down year. He just had a sophomore slump, and Baker Mayfield's going to come out and he's going to turn some heads. Like he's just going to ball out. And I talked about it earlier in the show. Like, are we going to see these 2018 quarterbacks come out and show that they're worth the big contract other than Lamar Jackson? And I think Baker Mayfield's going to come out and solidify why he was drafted first overall. And I had the Bengals winning 7 games, and you had them winning 5. I think 7 is a bit high, but looking at a team like the Cardinals last year, like the Cardinals roster this year or last year rather, and the Bengals roster this year isn't much different. And I think that Joe Burrow, I don't know if he's like a better prospect than Kyler Murray, but I can definitely see him go out there and play with the same level and maybe even better than Kyler Murray did. And honestly, I just see them winning a lot more games. I think that they're just going to completely revitalize the culture there. And we've seen it every single year. Like teams usually end up going like 7-9-ish with their rookie quarterbacks, and they end up doing really well. Like it's usually a good 7-9. Like, yeah, you didn't go positive, but you were in a lot of games you shouldn't have been. And I see the Bengals pulling our Arizona Cardinals from 2019 and being that great franchise or an up and coming franchise. And I don't think they're going to be in the playoff hunt whatsoever, but they're going to be a team that's going to win some games where you're like, oh, they beat the Steelers. How did they do that? And honestly, I wouldn't say I'm high on the Bengals, but going into 2021 and 2022, like they're a team that could rebound and start making the playoffs again.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think the Bengals have a high potential team, especially with their new coach. Yeah, Zach Taylor. Yeah, I think you capped off the AFC North pretty well. Last but not least, we'll go with my division, the AFC South. We'll start. Actually, there's 2 more divisions. I always
Yeah,
forget
we
about the
forgot the
AFC West.
West.
Yeah, we'll go AFC
Mhm.
South. I think first I'm gonna stick with the Colts. I have them at 10-6. Titans second, and I have them also at 10-6. Third, I have the Texans. I have them going 7-9, and then it's mainly because the first 7 game. Well, I think they play 7 games that are, I think, quite difficult for them to win. Like they play Baltimore, Green Bay, Kansas City, New England, Minnesota, Tennessee. Somehow they got the harder end of the schedule than we did. It's still quite difficult. Um, and then they play the Colts twice, and I think they'll split. But it's still a hard schedule for them, and that's why I have them at 7-9. Um, and then I have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 4-12. Uh, and I actually no, I'm gonna change that. They'll go 3-13. That's my prediction for the Jags,
Ooh.
and I think they'll finish as the worst team in the AFC South. And we'll go into game predictions in a future podcast for this week. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this week 1 matchup the Colts have. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough, man. um, so I also have the Colts winning the division 10-6. And I changed it from my previous predictions. I'm probably gonna get roasted by all our friends because I've been saying the Colts are gonna go like 7-9 or whatever. But the Colts are a good team. They're really talented. Um, and Philip Rivers, he can still ball, man. I don't think he's by any means like a top 10 quarterback, maybe not even top 15, but he's better than Jacoby Brissett. And if you have a player like better than Jacoby Brissett, I can only see you improving. Second, I have the Titans, and I have the Titans also winning 10 games. And I think they have the best coach in the division. Like they're probably the most talented team in the division. And actually, I'm gonna flip it. I think the Titans will win the division. I think they're gonna split with the Titans, with the Colts as well. But I think they're probably gonna win some nonsensical tiebreaker or whatever it is. But I think the Titans roster overall is slightly better than the Colts roster. So flipping it, I meant to flip it to start off with. But I have the Titans first. Then I have the Colts also going 10-6. Third, I have the Texans going 9-7. And for me, it comes down to this. If you have a good head coach and you have a good quarterback, you're going to win games. And Bill O'Brien, say what you will about his GM record, like he's just a doo-doo GM. He's a good head coach, man. Like he wins games. He's consistently winning double-digit games. And Sean Watson, we hit on it earlier when we talked about his contract extension. He's definitely worth it, and it's because he's a baller of a player. Like he's one of those players who will probably eventually rise to being a top 5 quarterback. And if you have a top 5 quarterback, I just don't see how you lose more than I don't see how you like lose more than those 7 games. Like you're going 9-7, and I think that's just I don't think they're gonna go much higher than that, but I think the Texans are extremely doubted on. And finishing off with the Jaguars, I have them going 3-13 as well. And honestly, I feel bad for Minshew, but the roster is just completely deprived of talent. Like you have Miles Jack as maybe your only good defensive player, and that's pretty much it. And on the offense, you have a pretty good offensive wide receiving core. We talked about it earlier. Running back is a huge issue. Offensive line is always an issue, and I just don't see how Minshew magic is going to carry on and win these games. I just don't see where the wins are coming from.
Yeah, I agree with the Jags assessment, obviously, and I agree still. Titans Colts, even if the Colts don't win the division, I think just because there's 7 teams, I expect them to make it with 10-6. And I would be pleasantly surprised if either the Titans or the Colts don't get 10 wins because I think the schedule favors both teams. I think they both have nice schedules. They both have good teams. I think you laid it out well. So I actually would not have a problem with either or. Just whoever wins the division gets the 4 seed or the 3 seed. I mean, we have to see. We'll wait on the last division we're going to talk about, and that's the AFC West. I always overlook this division. I don't know why, but I'm also a fan of this division as well. Kansas City Chiefs, I have them finishing first. I have them finishing 12-4. I think I had them as the number 1 team in the AFC. But I think that you can easily like have the Ravens go number 1 as well because the Ravens could easily get 12. The Chiefs could easily like slack a couple games, and they could fall under that. But I think the Chiefs are going to win the division regardless. They're the defending champs, and I'm looking forward to their Thursday night game. Football starts very soon. Can't wait. No analysis needed for the Chiefs being number 1. Number 2 in the division, though, I have the Denver Broncos at number 2, and it's because of Drew Lock. I already said this the other day. Drew Lock's stud. I really like him as a QB. I like the weapons that he has now, the revamped weapons. Deshaun Hamilton's not even like now he's like a backup receiver now, and now their team like Jerry Jeudy is one of the top receivers, and the Broncos got to pick him with their 15th pick. I'm very high on this Broncos team. Melvin Gordon, another good signing for the price that they paid for him. I think that's still nice, even though he didn't have a great year last year. I still thought it's better than the price he was way better than the price he was asking for. And yeah, I think with their running back committee, Royce Freeman there as well, and Philip Lindsay's there. I have them going 9-7. Then third, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I already said this the other day as well. I think they'll go 8-8, and it's because I trust John Gruden. Um, I've liked John Gruden's coaching tactics. I would always watch like when I was in middle school, Gruden's QB camp and his analysis in QBs. He was such like when he was analyzing Patrick Mahomes, like that was like amazing to watch. Or like an Andrew Luck, he would sit there in the room, analyze play by play, like that type of like that's the type of QB, that's the type of like coach that's like coaching this team. And I really like John Gruden. I love his personality as well. He's a great person. He's a great person. From what I see, obviously. And yeah, I mean, Derek Carr he's still average. I think you brought up the other day that I think this will probably be his final year as the Raiders starting QB. And I think that's quite possible if considering the Raiders have a bunch of talent outside of him. Josh Jacobs is there. Now they drafted Henry. They invested heavily in wide receiver this past draft. So that's there now. Darren Waller's there at tight end. Their O line's nice with Richie Incognito and that crew. And then defensively, they're completely like it's full of either well developed veterans or rookies. Um, Rookies or really young players. So I like their defense. Offense still needs a bit of improvement. Big fan of Josh Jacobs. I have them going 8-8. And then the last team I have the Chargers, mainly because they don't have a stable QB. I already said the other day why I have them so low. I have them at like close to 6 games actually. I have them at 6-10, and it's because I don't trust Tyrod Taylor or Herbert at least for this first year being successful. They'll probably do what Jared Goff did his rookie year, and that was not a very good Jared Goff from what I remember. So yeah, I think they'll go 6-10. So I'll recap. I have Chiefs 12-4, finishing number 1 in the division. Broncos 9-7, and then I have the Raiders going 8-8, and then I have the Chargers going 6-10.
Yeah, so like you said, for the Chiefs, I don't have any analysis there. Like they're probably going to win 13 games. I think they're going to be the number 1 team in the league. Period. And that's just because Patrick Mahomes, with that roster, is just flat out unstoppable. After that, so I have second team. I have the Broncos winning 9 games, and they won 7 games last year. They didn't have Bradley Chubb. They were starting Joe Flacco for like 11 games or whatever it was, 10 games last year. And I think what we saw on film from a player like Drew Lock last year, it's extremely promising. And I'm just high on him. I think he needs to fix some of his issues. Like he throws kind of late where he just doesn't see defenders sometimes, like lurking underneath zones. He needs to work on that. He needs to work on taking more deep shots. And with a player like KJ Hamler, who's a speedster, I don't see why he won't take more of those. 9-7, like their offense is better and their defense is probably the same. So that's just where I'm coming at it. And they won 7 games last year. So I think eight wins minimum is a lock. Going on the third team there, I'm looking at the Raiders as well, and I see them going 8-8. They won 7 games last year, and I believe they only improved this year. They have a ton of young talent. You talked about Damon Arnett yesterday. He's a great young corner. I think people were like crapping on that pick earlier when he was first drafted in the first round, but he's a great player. Like if Jeff Okudah wasn't on the Ohio State football team, like we would have heard way more about Damon Arnett. And just overall, like they have good players. Like I like a lot of those players on that team. A lot of good young talent, like John Gruden guys, um, like I just don't see. That being said, like I talked about it yesterday. Like I think Derek Carr is slightly above average, but I just I don't think he matches with what John Gruden wants, and I think that clash is going to make them not go positive, and that's why I had them finishing 500. And For the Chargers, I'm gonna go 5-11, and it's Tyrod and Justin Herbert. Like you said, we're gonna see a similar situation to what we had in the LA Rams, or I think they were the St. Louis Rams when they were first drafted there. And in his rookie year, he just wasn't good. Similarly, I think you're going to see Herbert thrown out way too early because Tyrod gets hurt or Tyrod just doesn't play well. And because of that, you're going to have Justin Herbert thrown out there too early, and you're going to have like almost a Dwayne Haskins situation where he'll probably be due to start off and he'll slowly improve. That being said, I think their roster is good enough to win 5 or 6 games easily. So I'm going to give them 5 wins, but I just don't see them competing at all this season. And it's purely based on quarterback. Like, I think if Derek Carr was on this Chargers roster, I could make a pretty decent argument that the Raiders would probably be second, probably winning 9 games and maybe even 10 games. So it's just the luck of the draw. You have probably the worst quarterback group in the division, if not maybe even the conference. And because of that, I have to knock you for it.
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of fair points there. This division's still going to be interesting to watch. I think they're completely overlooked because of that one super team they have in the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, definitely to look out for Denver. They're definitely in the hunt for sure for the playoffs. So now we just wrapped up all 32 teams. Where we think how we think they'll perform this year. And we'll now head into our 7 playoffs teams that we have for each conference. Reba, you can start with whatever conference you'd like.
Okay, so NFC, I have the New Orleans Saints for the first overall seed. They're going to get the first round bye, whatever I'm trying to say here. 12-4. Right after that, I have the Seahawks with the second seed. They're going 11-5. I think that's what I had them going. And like I said, I think they're going to win both 49ers matchups this year. And because of that, I think they're going to have the conference or the division record, and they're going to have that tiebreaker over the Niners. After that, I have the Packers finishing third after they finished second last year. I think they're winning 10 games, like I said. And that just shows you how competitive the division is. Like, we have a lot of good teams here. And if the Packers win 10 or 11 games, like, I could even push them up to 11 games. But just overall, like, it's really top heavy, in my opinion. Now, 4th seed, I had the Cowboys. We had them winning 10 games, both of us. I had them winning the 4th seed. 5th, like we said earlier, the loser of the NFC West, I have the San Francisco 49ers there, 11-5. And they're better than definitely the Cowboys, and they'll probably be better than the Packers as well. But just the luck of the draw. Finishing 6th, I have the Buccaneers, 10-6. And the Bucs, we hit on it. Tom Brady, I just don't see how he's successful. Like, there's so many things that are just – I think the cards he's been dealt in Tampa Bay are just extremely good. And I just don't see how he wins more. I don't see how he doesn't make the playoffs. He's going to be a wild card team. I wouldn't be surprised if, spoiler, they go into New Orleans and win week 1. But I just think the talent on the Saints is slightly better. And finally, I have a ton of 9-7 teams. I think I have the Vikings finishing 9-7. And I think the Vikings are going to just miss the playoffs to the Philadelphia Eagles. And this might be a slight homer pick. But Doug Peterson has made the playoffs the last 3 years. And that's a better track record than Mike Zimmer has. And because of that, I trust the coach more in this case in Philly. And because of that, I think they're going to win they're going to win that last coveted wildcard spot in the NFC.
Yeah, actually, we might have the same 7 teams in that order. Because here's the thing. I initially had the Niners 1 instead of the Saints. But now looking at it, the Saints are the regular season team, not the postseason team, mainly because of their performance last year. But, I mean, their team's still really nice. Actually, no, I'll still stick with the Niners 1. I'll go Niners 1. But I think the Saints, because I have them at 12-4. Saints, I have that 2, also at 12-4. 3, I believe I have I actually have Dallas at 3. And then I have 4, I have Green Bay. I think they both go 10-6. That's why I think, both, that's why I think Dallas goes 3, Green Bay goes 4. 5, yeah, we already said Seahawks. 6, I also have Bucks. And 7, I'm also gonna go Eagles, but it's tough, man. It's tough for the Eagles, man, because Eagles are there, and then teams like the Vikings are there, the Falcons are there. And yes, I do have them at 10-6. I do have them higher than you. But it's still gonna be tough for them to even make it at that, 10-6. They have very little room for error, especially towards the end of the season, I should be saying. Uh, but yeah, I have the same 7 teams as you. Just I think we swapped the top 4 in order, I guess. The swap top 4 were not the same, but 5 through 7 were. So, yeah, I think we got the NFC down. All right, Arib, yeah, now you can hit us with your AFC
Okay.
conference.
So first, I have the Chiefs, 13-3. Second, Baltimore, 12-4. Like, there's not much explanation that needs to be said there. Like, they're both great teams. Third, I have so for the third, right? I think it's based on head-to-head games, like that tiebreaker, and it's between the Bills and the Titans for me. The Bills face the Titans week 5, and I just think the Bills are going to have a lot of early season momentum, and because of that, I'm going to say they're going to win, and because of that, I have the Bills as the 3rd seed, and that defaults the Titans to the 4th seed, both of them winning 10 games. Now, 5th seed, I had the Steelers. Steelers are definitely better than Pittsburgh. They're definitely, I think, the 3rd best team in the conference by far, in my opinion. But again, luck of the draw, similar to what I said with the Niners in the NFC. 5th seed usually ends up being a good team that just ends up not winning the division, unfortunately. So 6th and 7th, for me, this is extremely interesting. So I have the Colts, obviously. I think I said that before. They're going to win the 6th seed. But the 7th seed to me is interesting for a few reasons. So I have Cleveland in the running. I have Houston in the running. I have the Broncos in the running. And honestly, I I don't know which team to pick here. Um, the Cleveland Browns do face, I believe, they face the. Let's check the schedule real quick. They do face the Colts. They do face the Raiders, who might also be in the running. The Titans, as well. I'm just gonna lean towards the Texans here, and I think the Texans we're gonna have 3 AFC South teams making the playoffs, and I think it's gonna be sad. Like, it's gonna be really close, like really tight. The Texans do face the Browns, and I think they'll probably end up winning that game, but I just don't see Deshaun Watson not making the playoffs. And I know he's only made the playoffs, I think, once in his career, but that being said, I just don't see him missing it. And I have 3 AFC South teams making it. And I have the Cleveland Browns finishing 8th, and I have the Broncos finishing 9th. And it's going to be really close between those teams. Honestly, I could see either one of them going in there and filling in that 7th or maybe even the 6th spot. But I just don't see Houston not making it. They're still a really talented team. And I think I talked about it yesterday, but just because they lost Hopkins, like, doesn't mean their entire team fell apart. Like, they still have good defensive pieces and good offensive pieces.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. Deshaun Watson he's 1-1 in the playoffs. He's lost to my Indianapolis Colts first round. Just wanted to mention that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, also, I'm surprised you didn't mention New England in your 7th seed running. You also had them at 9-7. Quite surprised you didn't put them there
Oh,
because
yeah, that was an
you do have
accident. My bad. I
you
have
do
4 9-7 teams for the record. New England, they'll definitely be in the running as well. But right now, I trust the Texans roster more than I trust the Patriots roster.
Okay, fair enough. I think overall, your list is pretty accurate. I think I like the teams that you have. I think also the Steelers are the 3rd best team in the AFC. They're just dealt with the cards they have, like you said. Um, but yeah, we'll start from top to bottom. I have the Chiefs at 1. Uh, Second, I have the Ravens. I think that's very obvious. Third, I do have the Bills at 3. I have them winning 11 games, which is one more than I have the Colts, so I have the Colts at 4. 5, I have the Steelers, who I said would win. I think I said that they'd win 10 or 11 games. Um, and then 6, I have the Titans. And then 7, this is where it also it's the same thing. I have a bunch of teams to choose from. I'm between the Browns and really the Browns and the Pats. Browns, Pats, and Broncos, I'd say. Those are the 3 teams I'm between. And out of those 3 teams, I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns because of the talent they have on their team, and it's just too good, man. And I like Kevin Stefanski, their new head coach. They invested a lot in O linemen. They got Jedrick Willis. They got Jack Conklin. And then now their D line is good again. Now that Miles Garrett was taken off the exempt list, I'm just really high on the Browns. So I'll take them as the 7th seed to round up the AFC playoffs in that side. So yeah.
I can't wait until we look back at this in like December and we're like completely wrong, and somehow the Dolphins are like the 1st seed, and we're like, what happened?
Yeah, that would piss me off. Like none of us do the Niners last year. Like
No, there's
people have
always
to
a team like that.
no one. Yeah, there's gonna be some team like that. Uh, do you want to name a breakout team for this year?
Um, yeah, sure. So my breakout team in the AFC, I have my breakout team being the Cardinals. I had them winning 8 games, I believe, and um, I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow snatched that 7th spot as well. And also, I had the Falcons as being almost a breakout team. Like they've broken out before, but I think they're slightly underrated. People think they might not make the playoffs, and I think they could definitely steal that spot from Philly or even Dallas. Who knows? One of those 2 teams is going to give up their spot. And in the AFC, I think we've hit on it. I had the Dolphins as my surprise team. Like, honestly, with good coaching, anything can happen. And also, I have the Broncos, and notable mention to the Bengals as well, because if they have a great quarterback, which I believe they have in Joe Burrow, anything can happen.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, my breakout team in the NFC is the Arizona Cardinals because of their acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins. I just think that's going to do miles for them. I think that's going to be very successful for them. Um, and then in the AFC, I have I guess this wouldn't really be considered. Actually, yeah, I think the Bengals are going to break out, and it's like a very minor breakout, I guess you could say. And I guess you can add the Browns to it too, because this is also a minor breakout. I think they're going to also perform better. They're going to perform to what we thought they would have done last year. I think I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
They had very high expectations last year. They couldn't match it. This year, they're, in my opinion, being overlooked, and I think they're going to play like how they performed. They should have performed last year, and yeah, that's those are my 2 teams from the AFC. And yeah, we'll wrap up the season. Okay,
Quick take. My notable mention for the NFC is the Chicago Bears, because if Mitch Trubisky can put things together, I don't see why they couldn't. Honestly, I could see them knocking out like Tampa Bay, knocking out Philly, knocking out Dallas. Like one of those
their
2
team's
teams, I could
back.
see that happen.
If Trubisky's actually good, bro, they'll win the division. But I don't know if he's got that. That's my only question mark. Their defense, they've lost so many weapons from that defense, and they're still arguably have the best defense in that division, and it's quite crazy.
It's bonkers, man.
Yeah, they lost Amos to Green Bay, but like it's still like they've got it, man. They just need that offensive firepower, and they'll be set. Maybe if like David Montgomery develops, but yeah. Yeah, right
Now
before
on to the awards, right?
yeah,
Oh,
we'll go to awards right before our Super Bowl prediction. Yeah. Let's go with first the coach of the year. I think coach of the year will be this is tough. This is gonna be really tough. I'm gonna go McDermott, Sean McDermott here as my coach of the year.
Okay,
And
I respect that.
that'll be mine. I think it's gonna be really close. Harbaugh has a chance. Peyton has a chance, obviously. Uh, well, I'm not gonna obviously Andy Reid has a chance. But I think yeah, I'm high on that. Also, if things really go well, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike McCarthy was in the consideration as well. If the Cowboys really like perform well this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he
I
was in the
like that. I like that pick.
but yeah, I'm gonna stick with Sean McDermott. I know you're really high on him as a coach. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's my prediction for coach of the year.
So I'm also gonna go with an AFC coach. I'm choosing Mike Tomlin. I think he's been perennially underrated as a head coach, and I think without the nonsense of AB and Le'Veon and all that, I think with Big Ben and actually having competent quarterback play, the team's just gonna ball out. And honestly, you heard it from me here first. I would not be surprised if the Steelers won the division over the Ravens. And I
Yeah,
think that's
it
just
would
because
not.
Mike Tomlin's a great coach. So
Yeah, you never know there. Next, we'll go offensive rookie of the year. My offensive rookie of the year pick is actually going to be Joe Burrow. Um, it is is it close? I don't know if it's really that close because I think I've heard a lot of great things about Joe Burrow. Um, but yeah, I like some candidates. I think definitely are like. I think CeeDee Lamb could break out. I could see like Jerry Judy breaking out, or Ruggs breaking out, or even a guy like Jalen Rager, especially with the injuries the Eagles have, or like even Alshon Jeffrey in the trade talks. I could see him breaking out, or even a running back like Jonathan Taylor breaking out, DeAndre Swift, multiple different guys. But I think Joe Burrow is going to lead his team to getting some dubs. And out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, I mean, Tua is not going to play immediately. So, yeah, I like my chances with Joe Burrow as winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
So to me on the offense, this comes down to two players. Both in the first round. One was drafted first overall. One was drafted 32nd overall. This comes down to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH versus Joe Burrow to me. And I think Joe Burrow is going to win it hands down solely because he's a quarterback who drafted first overall to a garbage team. And they're probably I have them winning 7 games. And I think that's going to be good enough. We saw it with Kyler Murray. I don't think Kyler Murray deserved it because I think a player like Josh Jacobs is better than him, like at least perform better. But Joe Burrow, he's going to fill in the same mode. If you're a quarterback, you're pretty much guaranteed offensive rookie of the year. We saw it in 2016 with Dak over Zeke, and we're probably going to see it in 2020 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Dak versus Zeke was a great comparison, by the way, for how it would go. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I completely forgot to mention him. He's a great running back as well. I really don't like talking about fantasy in this show, but he's like going top 10 in a lot of these drafts, and I don't, and it's because he's in Patrick Mahomes' offense, man. What do you
Mm-hmm.
expect?
Patrick Mahomes and Andy
Kareem
Reid.
Kareem Hunt killed it in that offense, and I mean, no offense to Damian Williams, he killed it in the Super Bowl, obviously, but I mean, like if Clyde Edwards-Helaire plays, and I think he's better than Damian Williams, but if he plays up to like a high potential, that Chiefs offense is just purely unstoppable. But yeah, and then defensive rookie of the year, I think this is without a doubt Chase Young. I think he's like dominating players, offensive linemen. It's quite sad actually seeing like some of these offensive linemen trying to contain him. It's a scary sight, man. I think Chase Young was the best player picked in this draft, by far. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
he's a that man is he's something special. I think he's probably the best defensive end prospect, since like what Miles Garrett. you'd say.
I think he might
Maybe
be
even
better than
better.
Myles Garrett.
Might even
Yeah.
be better than Myles Garrett. Yeah, and Myles Garrett was crazy too in college. So imagine that. Yeah, this is quite crazy stuff from this guy. Yeah, I think he's gonna win Defensive Rookie of the Year for sure.
Yeah, so for me, it comes down to two players again: Chase Young, obviously, and Isaiah Simmons for the Arizona Cardinals. Notable mention to Derek Brown and Jeff Okuda, and even a player like C.J. Henderson. Like, I could see them doing it, but corners, you need picks. I don't see like young corners getting a ton of picks. And Derek Brown, he's a great player, but he's a DT. So, and he's not like an Aaron Donald type of DT. He's more of a Fletcher Cox type of guy who's going to get double teamed, triple teamed, and he's not going to make a ton of sacks and any of that, but he's just going to be a mauler. For me, Isaiah Simmons, Chase Young, I'm going to give it to, I'm going to give it to Isaiah Simmons because I think he's going to be on the better defense and the better team. And I think that matters for a narrative award. Even though I think Chase Young is probably going to have a better year, I just think for a narrative award like the offensive rookie of the defensive rookie of the year, I think it's just going to go to a team that exceeded expectations. And I think low key Chase Young is going to get lost in, the Washington mediocrity. And I think Simmons and the Cardinals could very much be in the spotlight this year. And because of that, I'm going to give it to Simmons.
Fair enough. I think this is quite pointless of an offensive player of the year. This is this is
It's
tough.
literally just MVP.
Yeah, this is basically the MVP, but if they do change offensive player of the year, doesn't win MVP. It's weird. Because what's his face didn't win it last year. Lamar Jackson didn't win offensive player of the year last year. It was McCaffrey that won it, I believe, right? So
was it McCaffrey or MC? I think it was McCaffrey.
yeah, I think it was McCaffrey. But regardless, yeah, I think this year I'm also gonna go McCaffrey. Not gonna lie, I'm high on McCaffrey. Man, it's actually no, it was Michael Thomas this past year. Now, yeah, this year I'll go McCaffrey. Because of now having a good solid quarterback in Bridgewater with them. Yeah, I'll take McCaffrey.
I'm gonna bring up a name that has somehow become underrated. Like I don't know why people aren't talking about him, but Saquon freaking Barkley, bro. Like I feel like
Oh, yeah, that's a good pick
he's
too.
just gone under like the radar because he's on the Giants and everything. I
Well, he
think
didn't
he's
last year.
like he didn't play well last year. He was hurt.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because of that, he sort of just slipped from like the spotlight. But Saquon, my opinion, best running back in football. I think he's going to ball out. And even though the Giants aren't going to be a great team, I think they're also going to be more in the spotlight than a team like the Panthers. And I don't think they're going to give it to MT back to back. Maybe Devontae Adams because I'm high on the Packers offense.
Nah, chill.
I could see that happening, man.
Yo, but
But
the Packers don't have other receivers, so maybe yeah, that's actually possible.
it could end up being an MC situation, bro. Like you just end up force feeding Devontae Adams. But I'm going to give it to Saquon Barkley because I feel like he's not being talked about, and he's my favorite running back at least in the NFL.
Yeah, well said. And then defensive player of the year. This is also tough. Last year was won by Stephon Gilmore. This is actually really tough. This could go multiple ways. They won't give it to Aaron Donald. They won't because if they give it to Gilmore, they won't give it to Donald. I think I'm gonna go Khalil Mack here.
Ooh, okay. So winning his second one.
Yeah, I think he wins his second defensive player of the year, and it's because I expect the Bears. I expect him to carry because I think I think the Bears are still gonna try like they're all to become that team they once were, and I think that defense he's gonna bring back some memories of the past of what happened 2 years ago. He was basically like single-handedly carrying that defense, putting so much pressure on the quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
even like almost injuring Rodgers again. Yeah, he's a maniac. Yeah, I'm gonna go Khalil Mack for my defensive player of the year.
So, looking at defensive player of the year, first of all, do you remember if Von Miller has won defensive player in his career? Because I know he's won Super Bowl MVP, which is definitely better in my
Better.
opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have the normal names. You said Aaron Donald. Again, it's a narrative award. I think Aaron Donald hasn't been like figured out. He's too good to be figured out, but
He's won it
not
twice.
he's won it
So
twice. I think he's gonna have to win it again. If he wins it again, he's gonna have to put up like 20 sacks. Or at least like
yeah,
19 sacks, 18 sacks.
exactly.
Um Players like TJ Watt could be in the running. Obviously Khalil Mack, Von Miller, like they're perennially in the running. They're always great players. I'm gonna give it to I'm going to give it to my comeback player of the year. Spoiler alert. JJ Watt. I think JJ Watt,
He's already won it 3 times, Arib.
he's won it 3 times. I think he's going to come back and win it again. And I think he's going to be in the spotlight. He's going to be in the spotlight because the Texans are going to have that reputation that, oh, Bill O'Brien's terrible. Like the team is deteriorating around them. And he's put up 16 and a half sacks his last full year played. I'm extremely high on JJ Watt. I think he's going to be the first player ever to win 4. And if he doesn't do it this year, I think he's going to eventually do it before he retires.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Dude,
I think he will. I think limelight of his career, he will end up doing it. And spoiler, he's my comeback player of the year as well. He missed a ton of games last year. And I know you're going to say Cam Newton. Cam Newton was also on my list. But I thought about it, and I'm like, I want to be slightly different from you. And JJ Watt, at least for me, is going to be a great pick. And TJ Watt is also in the running as well.
My problem with the JJ Watt pick is he has to stay on the field. That's the main issue with me.
I think if he does, he'll ball out though, and I think
he will ball out. He played pretty well. He played 8 games last year. He did play. He did start all the games in 2018. He had his career high in forced fumbles in 2018, so he definitely still has potential. But in the 8 games he played, he didn't like really blow my mind by any means. He had 4 sacks in 8 games. I don't know. That's really impressive per se. He had 24 tackles total in 8 games. That's also not impressive per se. So I'm not sure if I can completely buy in on the JJ Watt hype train and winning again defensive player of the year. He's won it 3 times. That's already good, bro.
He won it 3 times in a row too.
Yeah, you can't be that's pretty insane. I don't know if he can win it again though. Comeback player of the year was my next award that we were going to talk about. You've already mentioned yours is going to be the same player we just mentioned here, JJ Watt, for the reasons that you obviously gave out. And mine is going to be Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton is going to lead his team to a team that was completely dead before he signed. I think Jarrett Stidham was going to be their quarterback, and I would be – that team is full of question marks with Jarrett Stidham there. And now with Cam Newton there, I think he's going to be showing himself. I think he will play at a Pro Bowl level this year. I think he will really show his stripes. And, I think that's going to be my comeback player of the year. Next award I want to give
Before we
out.
move on.
Yeah,
Dark horse comeback player of the year candidate, Alex Smith, man. I mean, if something happens to Dwayne Haskins and Dwayne Haskins has to sit out a game or two because of injury and Alex Smith ends up starting a game or two, I think he's guaranteed to win it no matter what anyone, Cam Newton, JJ Watt, like Aaron Rodgers, whoever is in the running for comeback player of the year. I don't think anyone has anything over Alex Smith. If Alex Smith starts even a game, I think he's going to win it hands down. And I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah. No, he should, bro. I think his story is just very inspirational. I'm very high on Alex Smith winning it if he can play this year, and I really hope he does. I watched we already talked about it before, but he's a great player. We will now go into we'll go to, I would say Walter Payton Man of the Year, but it's really hard to judge that award.
Yeah, no, you can't judge that. I
You
think
can't
finally
judge
it's our
that.
Super Bowl matchup, right? And our Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll go MVP, and we'll leave
Oh
that.
yeah, MVP as well. Hmm.
Yeah. This is tough for me. This could go multiple ways. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes still. I think if he can play
Yeah.
all the games, I think he'll win it. But I think after this year, the standards will be risen for him though, and I think they won't just give it to him every year, like they would be doing for Aaron Donald. So
Hmm.
this will be the last easy, I should say, MVP. Although honestly, he could probably still win it multiple times. They could set the bar higher and he could still get it. So yeah,
Yeah.
but that I'll take Mahomes.
So for mine, I think I mentioned it in a previous show.
Yeah,
I have Russell
Wilson.
Wilson winning it.
Yep, I knew it.
Mm. Yeah. 11-5. I think that they end up winning the division. I think I have them as I had them as the third seed, I believe, or second seed, right? So second seed, I think that's just going to be good enough. I think he's going to ball out like he does every year, and yeah, I think the story is going to be there too. He hasn't won it before versus Patrick Mahomes have winning it before. Like I think that stuff plays into a narrative award like that. And dark horse MVP candidate. So I have Kyler Murray as a dark horse MVP candidate because if
That's fine.
everything works
Yeah.
out and he pops off, like it could definitely happen. And second of all, second pick, and you're probably gonna roast me for this, but Aaron Rodgers, dude, like I feel like Aaron Rodgers has become like he's a great quarterback. He isn't the same Aaron Rodgers anymore, like as he was in like 2016. But I think he's gonna come out on a redemption tour, and because of that, like I could definitely see him going out there and just balling out and maybe winning MVP. And it could also be a narrative award. Like you could have another run the table situation where he completely pops off the end of the season and carries them to the playoffs, whatever else happens. But Aaron Rodgers is my dark horse Super Bowl candidate, which is weird to say because he's won it, MVP candidate because he's won it before. But
My dark horse is Dak Prescott.
ooh, okay,
Dak Prescott, and my second one is Josh Allen. Those two are my real
okay, you're
dark
diving
horses.
deep, bro. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. So Dak Prescott mainly because I want to see how he does with the new coach. And CeeDee Lamb is different, bro. He's different. We had him as
mm-hmm.
the number receiver entering the draft, and he is different. He could be Julio Jones 2.0. I mean, I'm really high on this guy. You're high on Gallup. I mean, now looking at it, Gallup's also really good, and they have Amari Cooper already. The receivers are set. Great running back. Great O line still. Uh, I think Dak's gonna have a great year this year. I think this will. He has to obviously exceed how he played the rookie year, and I think he will. And he did well last year too. He
Mm-hmm.
just didn't have the good coach to make the right plays and decision making. So yeah, that's the reason I have Dak as my sleeper pick. Um,
I
and
like
my
it.
yeah, and my other one, Josh Allen. I had that because he's the type of player that he can explode for the run as well, and he can throw like really far. He can throw bombs, and I think his perfect complementary partner is going to be Stephon Diggs in these games. So I'm expecting big numbers out of Stephon Diggs. I'm expecting big rushing numbers from Josh Allen, especially because
Mm-hmm.
they're running committee right now in Buffalo with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. So I'm looking forward to see how Josh Allen really steps up to that challenge. And I also think Josh Allen could be in the race also because of how well they're going to be playing this year. I genuinely believe the Bills are going to be a team that'll shock a lot of people when you see their win total. Yeah, those are my two dark horse MVP candidates.
I like both of them actually. Dak, he's a cowboy, and like they're always going to be in the running. And if Josh Allen and the Bills can have a good record, I don't see why he couldn't win it if he's playing good football. Yeah. Super Bowl matchups. I want to hear your Super Bowl matchup first.
All right, I'm not going to be a homer here. I'll be serious here. I'm going to pick this is interesting. I actually before this, I'm being dead honest, I never prepared for a Super Bowl matchup because there's too many
Mhm.
teams to pick from. Uh, so I'll go. I think the Saints will make it this year, coming out of the NFC, because I think this is gonna be Drew Brees' last dance, and I think they have to make it. They just have to. They got screwed 2 years ago with Nickel Roby-Coleman, now Eagles player, by the way, uh,
Mm-hmm.
screwing
Damn
them
good
with
player
that last
too.
play. Yeah, yeah, he's a great corner. Yeah, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I think the Saints, they'll bounce back from their first round exit this past year, and they'll win. They'll go the distance in the Super Bowl. And in the AFC, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna go Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Ooh, okay. Hmm.
I would go. I would go the obvious pick. I would go Chiefs. I would go Ravens. I'm trying to go out on a limb here, and the Steelers are looking stupid nice, like really stupid nice. I think they are a better team than the Eagles. Even though I have them as winning the same amount of games, I think their team is really damn good, man. And uh, the fact they did all that without a real starting QB last year, and now having Big Ben back, I think this could either be a freezing cold take, and they could be like really bad because of Big Ben, or this could be like a really good take. Because I think the
Mm-hmm.
Steelers could be really nice. Um, but yeah, they have to still go through the Ravens. I think that's still going to be difficult. Uh, but yeah, I like Mike Tomlin. That's a reason why you have him as your coach of the year. Uh, but yeah, I like Steelers, Saints, and I'll take the Saints to win the Super Bowl this year. I'll be completely
Okay.
objective. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, take Saints.
So when you said you had a ton of teams, I wasn't expecting you to pick the Saints because the Saints are also my NFC pick. And for the
Yeah,
AFC, I'm going to choose the Chiefs still, just because I think Patrick Mahomes is the best player in that conference. Period. Um, Steelers though is a very interesting selection because they have a great defense, and that could definitely give Mahomes like tons of trouble. So if they do match up in the playoffs, I could see that happening. Honestly, my AFC
that's
divisional game, like the
yeah,
championship, might actually be Steelers versus Chiefs. And for the NFC, um, I had the Saints winning Super Bowl overall, as do you. Notable mentions though for the NFC, I wouldn't be. I'm marking it out right now. Buccaneers,
yep,
Packers, Seahawks.
yep.
Those three teams are going to be in the AFC and NFC conference game, no matter what. Like one of
One of
those
those
two,
three.
maybe even two
One
of
of
those two. Even if I know I'm predicting the Saints here, but I would. Those are the four teams I have as being like true Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. Um,
you don't have the
but yeah, I
Niners
had the
there.
Saints winning it.
You don't think the
Um,
Niners? Yeah,
I think
It's
the
hard for the
Niners are going
Niners.
to suffer from the hangover, bro. It's not going to happen back to back, especially not in the NFC.
I
They
can't.
have too
I
many
can't. I can't.
hurdles.
I can't see it happening back to back. But if it does, if they play, okay, I'll put it this way: I'll see their first game, the first playoff game. If they blow the team out their first playoff game, you can book it already that they'll make it because they're that type of team where if
The
they're off to
momentum
the
matters.
yeah, that momentum matters. Yeah, so I need to really see how the Niners play in their first game in the playoffs, and that will decide it for me because they cruised to the Super Bowl. They literally cruised. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They played. They destroyed the Packers, and I believe
Destroy the Vikings too.
they destroyed the Vikings as well. That's too easy, man. And if they do that, and they're the 1 or 2 seed, um, yeah, I'd expect stuff to be really easy for them. But yeah, I could see where you're coming from with the Super Bowl hangover. But yeah, I think the Saints, man. I think Drew Brees, this is going to be his last year, and
Mm-hmm.
I think
Peyton Manning's the
he
type of
went down.
situation.
I think it's the Peyton Manning type of situation, and he needs another ring too. He only has one, and that actually would. I mean, he is beating Peyton Manning in a lot of stuff. If he can get another ring, it's very very possible you can make the argument he's a better QB all time than Peyton Manning. He needs to win another one though, bro. I think
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this he's I would love to see the Saints win the Super Bowl here. But yeah, obviously we're gonna be rooting for our teams. Let's
Correct.
not get
Mm-hmm.
that twisted. Uh, but yeah, objectively speaking, I think this is reasonable. Steelers, obviously, it's not like completely out of the realm of possibility. It's kind of a risky pick. Obviously, the Chiefs are a safer pick, and if the Chiefs and Steelers played, it would be a close game, and I would pick the Steelers only because of their defense, like you said. The matchup is there. Um, but if it was like a Steelers-Ravens, that would be a lot more tougher because they've already played each other multiple times, and, like,
Divisional
the
games are always different.
divisional games are different, man. So, yeah. Also, I don't expect the Ravens to have postseason success yet. I need to see Lamar Jackson do more. I need to still. I mean,
Yeah,
he
fair
played
enough, man.
really well last year, and he was so bad last year in the playoffs. So I need to see more in that aspect. But yeah, that's my prediction.
That's all our awards, all our predictions done. I definitely want to go back and look at this after the season's over, and I want to see how wrong we were.
We're
Yeah, anything
probably
else you have to say? Dude, we're dead wrong. Like, watch it happen. Like, the
we're gonna be
Browns are
dead.
going to win the Super Bowl.
Yo, if the Browns win, I'll be happy though. I would
I
be
would be
happy.
excited as well, yeah.
I would be happy for them. I'm honestly okay with now. I mean, the Bucks winning, I would not be. I mean, it'd be a good story considering it'd be at home, but it's not gonna really be at home because I don't think like fans are gonna be the same because of COVID.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the Bucks winning would be kind of cool. But Brady also doesn't need a ring, so that also doesn't.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah, so yeah, I think the Saints I really want to see if they can win the NFC. That would be really nice. Or the Eagles. Eagles would be nice too, but you can only hope, man. So
Dude, I
yeah,
would be so happy if there was another parade, but um in
it can
COVID
happen, man.
times, who knows,
If
man?
Wentz
Who
plays
knows?
at that MVP level, bro, it's wraps. He can have freaking J.R. Whiteside as his receiver one, and he could have Nelson Aguilar as his receiver two. If he plays at that
Jalen
MVP level,
Rager.
bro. No, you can have Nelson Aguilar, bro. I'm telling you, you can have the
Nelson
Raiders.
Aguilar is gonna come back from the
Yeah,
dead, bro.
no,
Yeah.
I'm saying he could have anywhere. He could have any receiver. If he's just on that
Mhm.
MVP level, it's wraps. Trust me on that. I mean, you know it's wraps too. That
Yeah, I've
he
seen him play. If he
yeah
puts it all together, he's great.
he's crazy, man. But yeah, that's I think we wrapped up our season overview. Yeah, looking
Our
forward to the
season
season.
preview, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, preview I
Season
should say.
predictions, whatever it is, yeah.
Starts in 4
Mhm.
days. Um,
I'm
I'm getting
hyped.
I'm really excited for this season. Uh, I'm just praying that it goes as planned. We don't have any like delays or any cancellations of any games. I don't want to see players getting COVID on my fantasy team, especially. I don't want to see any players getting COVID because that could stop an entire team from playing. I've seen that in baseball where the Marlins their entire team basically got COVID, so their team got shut down and their games got postponed. I don't want to see that type of crap happening in the NFL. And if that happens, I would just like not want to watch because like that's just like come on, it's just not going to work. I want to see everything run properly and I want to see a full season here. And if we get, I would be very happy if the first 4 weeks go super smoothly. And if that
Mhm.
goes smoothly, I think we're gonna go. It's gonna go off the races from there. And I think we'll have the full season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard much about positive tests recently. I think the last like month almost. Like usually like every other day it'd be like Von Miller tested positive, Zeke tested positive, like 10 unknown players tested positive or staff or whatever it is. So I'm hopeful, man. Um yeah, that is it for me. Anything else you want to say, Hamal?
Yeah, nothing else, man. That was another good episode. I think we summed up our thoughts pretty well for the season, and I cannot wait.
Yeah. As Amal said, I'm extremely hyped as well. So that is it for our season preview. Thanks for listening. Give this video a like, listen, share the podcast with your friends. Why not? Give it a review, do all that fun stuff. Anyway, thanks for listening and peace out. Bye.